Zecharia Sitchin, early on in his career as an archaeologist, discovered patterns that intrigued him. He had a penchant for solving puzzles that could be analysed in this way, that presented patterns, and the more data he gathered, the more intrigued he became. He was hooked. He had a penchant for solving puzzles that could be analysed in this way, that presented patterns, and the more data he gathered, the more intrigued he became. He was hooked. Mankind exhibits a kind of collective amnesia in regard to past pole shifts. Sitchin encountered similar reactions when his puzzle, forming into patterns, pointed to periodic cataclysms, a travelling planet the ancients counted as the 12th planet, large strapping hominoids who had the appearance of Greek gods shuttling to and from this visiting 12th planet, and the inevitable and inescapable conclusion: this would happen to the Earth again. Faced with those rigidly resisting, contemplating these conclusions, or even glancing at the facts he so meticulously garnered, Sitchin shifted into high gear and sought to convince his critics with yet more facts, until his arguments can scarcely be discounted by all but those in firm denial. However, today one still finds this spread. There are those who read and learn, those who read and become advocates of Sitchin's theories, and those who refuse to read, or if pressed to do so nevertheless, refuse to absorb or deal with the facts presented. Sitchin skeptics arm themselves by challenging his conclusions, which are based on ancient Sumerian records that could be interpreted in a number of different ways. Scientists doing research are allowed to present a theory and set out their research to prove or disprove the accuracy of that theory. They are allowed to be wrong or partially wrong, and to correct their theory from what is learned and proceed with further research. Sitchin, bearing an alarming message that tends to belittle arrogant humans determined to be God's only creation, or frighten those who cannot deal with the thought of pole shifts or visitations by powerful aliens, is not given this latitude. Where it is clear that the giant hominoids had mastered spaceflight to the extent that man on Earth has with their probes and shuttles and space stations, and where it is clear that the ancient Sumerians were aware of the outer planets only recently discovered by modern man during the past century. Other Sitchin conclusions are not so clear as to be based on fact, and thus he lays himself open to criticism. The giant hominoids from the 12th planet tinkered with genetic engineering and doodled their fantasies like science fiction in murals. This has been taken as fact by Sitchin, who failed to consider that these murals might constitute a plan, not past fact. The giant hominoids from the 12th planet tinkered with genetic engineering and doodled their fantasies like science fiction in murals. This has been taken as fact by Sitchin, who failed to consider that these murals might constitute a plan, not past fact. These hominoids did not create man, nor did they create crossbreeds between man and animals, mythological creatures, with the bottom half a horse, the top a man. Such creatures would not be created by altering DNA, as any geneticist will confirm, nor would transplanting between incompatible species create such a creature. Just as the Bible talks about the evolution of the earth and mankind in story form, the ancient Sumerian tales about the birth of the planets in Earth's solar system have likewise been written in many cases to be understood by the common man. Were the giant hominoids present during this time, they were not, and were thus speculating from their vantage point, just as human scientists today speculate about the information they receive from their probes and telescopes. Thus, beyond the evidence that these ancient records present about a travelling planet that visits Earth's solar system approximately every 3,600 years or so, these ancient records should be viewed as human documents of today, reflecting an author's unproved theory, listing the potentials that a plan can bring, or biased by bragging and hyperbole.